Hello, everyone, and welcome to night 3 of our 4-day International Dance Week Festival. My name is Ryan Bradshaw. I'm a local spoken word poet, and this is Shannon Lacroix, who will be doing some French translation for us tonight.
Bonsoir à toutes et à tous. Bienvenue à cette troisième soirée du Festival international de danse.
As a poet, I have collaborated a lot over the years with dancers, especially contemporary and flamenco dancers. And I've also written over 20 articles for a dance magazine based in Toronto called The Dance Current, shining a spotlight on dance artists and dance groups across Canada.
L'animateur de ce soir, Ryan Bradshaw, est poète local qui a collaboré et partagé la scène de nombreuses fois avec des artistes de la danse, surtout des danseurs et danseuses de la danse contemporain, également flamenco. Il a également écrit plus de 20 articles pour le magazine The Dance Current qui met en lumière les artistes et les troupes de danse de partout au pays.
But mostly, I'm just a really, really big fan of dance, and I'm just really honored to be part of this festival. Honestly, it's been really special, and I'm so dang excited for tonight. Can I say dang on live stream? Um, and thank you all so much for being here.
Plus que tout, Ryan est grand amateur de danse. Il est très heureux, il a très hâte de voir ce qu'on va voir ce soir. Il dit même torieux, si on veut utiliser l'expression française pour dingue. Donc, il a très, très hâte de voir ce qu'on va voir ce soir.
Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that this International Dance Week Festival is taking place on Treaty 6 territory, which encompasses the lands of the Cree, Dakota, Nakota, Saulteaux, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. I would like to acknowledge that we are all treaty people who are responsible for working towards reconciliation and educating ourselves and each other on the histories of this land we call home.
Avant de commencer la soirée, je veux reconnaître que nous nous trouvons sur le territoire du traité numéro 6, la terre traditionnelle de nombreux peuples autochtones, dont les Cris, les Dakota, les Nakota et les Métis. Chacun d'entre nous a un rôle à jouer dans la réconciliation et on invite les gens à en apprendre plus sur l'histoire de cette terre.
In the spirit of education, when I knew I was going to be doing this land acknowledgement, I gave some thought to what I could teach you tonight. And well, I work at my full-time job is working at the flag shop, a retail shop that sells flags, and we sell the Treaty 6 flag. So I thought I would bring that here today. This is my volunteer Ruby with the flag. So Treaty number 6 territory, in the center it says, as long as the sun shines and the river flows and the grass grows. And the year the treaty was signed was 1876, which was 29 years before Saskatchewan would even become a province. It would be nice to see. I think a lot of people have told me they've never seen this flag before, and I think it would be really great to see more of it around town, just to remind us not only where we are, but who we are.
Dans l'esprit du partage et aussi de l'éducation, Ryan travaille dans un magasin de drapeaux en ville. Donc, il a décidé d'apporter le drapeau officiel du traité numéro 6 pour faire valoir ce symbole important. Au centre du drapeau, on peut voir l'année 1876, l'année de signature du traité numéro 6, qui représente en fait que le territoire a été formé 29 ans avant que le Saskatchewan devienne une province. On espère voir de plus en plus de ces drapeaux volés en ville. Ryan a indiqué qu'il a entendu de la part de plusieurs personnes que c'est la première fois qu'il voit le drapeau. Donc, on voudrait pouvoir le voir pour nous rappeler où nous nous trouvons et qui nous sommes.
Thanks, Ruby. Our artists of the evening are Morgyn Aronyk Schnell and Tanveer Alam, joining us from Toronto and performing a piece called Idiom. Idiom is a duet that intends to investigate the creation of a dance language born from the meeting of two people, a shared moment, and a collectively built vocabulary. Rather than approaching collaboration as fusion, this work proposes the development of an idiom, an embodied language that would exist only through this specific encounter between these two performers.
Nos artistes de ce soir nous viennent de Toronto. Morgyn Aronyk Schnell et Tanveer présentent ce soir leur œuvre intitulée Idiom. Idiom est un duo qui explore la création d'un langage de danse né de la rencontre de deux personnes, d'un moment de partage et d'un vocabulaire construit collectivement.
Please welcome Morgyn and Tanveer. Another round of applause for Morgyn Aronyk Schnell and Tanveer Alam.
Une autre main d'applaudissement pour les artistes.
First, I want to apologize to Morgan. The reason I laughed in the intro is because I had literally just told them my most basic job as an MC is to pronounce the name correctly, and I did not do that. So, sorry about that. So it's my understanding that you two have quite different histories in dance styles. Can you each tell us a little bit about that to start?
Sure, I'll take it away. I'm originally from Edmonton, Alberta. I grew up dancing at like a competitive dance studio there. My aunt owned a studio, so I was just doing all of that kind of stuff, jazz, tap, ballet, hip hop in the way that it's done in those spaces. And then I also went to an arts high school, actually from kindergarten to grade 12, so I was exposed to a lot of dance throughout all of my upbringing. Decided I wanted to pursue it, so I moved to Toronto. It's where we met. At then it was called the School of Toronto Dance Theatre. Now it's called Dance Arts Institute. Um, yeah, studied in a lot of modern dance styles, namely Graham, and yeah, some other things. Contemporary is kind of Western contemporary is kind of the mode that I train in the most. Um, yeah, that's me.
Alors, Morgan parlait un peu de son historique de danse. Elle a grandi à Edmonton. Elle a fait des compétitions de danse là-bas pendant toute sa vie. Elle a fait entre autres du ballet, du jazz, du hip-hop. Sa tante avait un studio de danse à Edmonton. Elle a aussi été à une école d'art à Edmonton avant de déménager à Toronto pour son éducation en danse postsecondaire, disons. Son expertise, surtout, se trouve dans la danse moderne, la danse contemporaine oui, occidentale. C'est ce qu'elle a appris en principe le plus.
Yeah, so I grew up in Montreal, and I started my training in Kathak, which is a North Indian classical dance style, and it's the practice of dance that I practice professionally and formally. Um, and then, similar to Morgan, I went to an arts high school in Montreal, and then I was exposed to ballet, tap, flamenco, Limon technique, other lineages of American modern dance, and that kind of instigated me towards wanting to have a career in dance. And then I went to the School of Toronto Dance Theatre. Morgan and I were in the same cohort, and from there, essentially, my trajectory has been that I work mostly in Kathak and work in contemporary forms that pull from South Asian traditions, because there are many traditions of the contemporary, and the Western is of course more profusely popular in the West, but there are other ways of working that I work with.
De son côté, lui, il a grandi à Montréal. Il a été formé en danse là-bas. Lui aussi a poursuivi son école secondaire dans une école d'art. Donc, de cette façon-là, il a découvert d'autres danses modernes américaines. Il a voulu poursuivre son éducation en danse et c'est à l'école de danse de Toronto qu'il a rencontré Morgan. Il fait beaucoup aussi de danse traditionnelle de sa région. Donc, c'est important pour lui de faire ce genre de danse-là aussi dans sa pratique.
The piece is stunning, um, and I really love the idea of the idiom, um, the title, and the whole concept. And I guess adding to the first question, can you tell us kind of how you decided to approach bringing both of your histories into this collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, a fun fact is that and I haven't danced together in I think 8 or 9 years since we graduated. So it's kind of special. It's a special moment for us to kind of come together. And I think what we were really after um, was to not move in a way where we were trying to kind of um, like imitate the other's form or the other's practice that they've spent like above 10, 15 years on, because um, one simply cannot do what another does with more time. So I think the goal for us was to see like how can we actually um, work with our knowledge systems and then bring them together in kind of one set phrase that we kind of work, remix, rework, do a variety of things with, and really just get to like what is the most distilled exploration that we can work with within our bodies that isn't kind of tied to one form or the other, but also isn't trying to imitate a cultural specificity or a technical specificity that's not of one or the others.
Alors, on a parlé un peu ici du concept de comment jouer justement avec cette idée de l'idiome qu'on est en train de partager des moments ensemble. Donc, il expliquait qu'ils n'ont pas dansé ensemble depuis 8 ou 9 ans, depuis qu'ils ont fini l'école. Donc, c'est un moment très spécial pour eux de retourner sur la scène ensemble. Ils ne voulaient pas non plus qu'ils imitent la forme d'art de l'autre. Parce qu'ils ont 10 ans d'expérience, plus de 10 ans d'expérience dans leurs formes respectives. Donc, c'est impossible d'imiter de la même façon quelqu'un qui a autant d'expérience. Donc, c'est important pour eux, dans ce qu'ils ont élaboré, de voir comment ils pouvaient apporter leurs deux expertises, de le peaufiner, de l'épurer pour que ce soit le plus pur, le plus simple possible pour pouvoir combiner leurs deux langues de danse ensemble.
I can maybe also
Yeah.
elaborate as well. We've had a few moments in rehearsals where there's one moment that stands out to me where Tanveer was like, "Is this just Western contemporary?" And I was like, "Doesn't feel like that in my body. It does. I do feel the influence of your movement um, in my body." And we're kind of coming up against this thing where some of the movements don't feel natural and they don't feel here nor there. And I think that's what we're really interested in exploring for future development of this work. Trying to uncover things that just, yeah, we can't like put our finger on and we can't um, claim to be one thing or another. Uh,
Elle disait pour elle qu'il y a eu plusieurs moments en répétition quand ils étaient en train d'élaborer la pièce. Il y a un moment en particulier, un souvenir en particulier où il se posait la question si c'était juste de la danse contemporaine. Elle lui a expliqué qu'en fait, pour elle, c'était pas le sentiment qu'elle avait dans son corps, qu'elle sentait l'influence de sa danse à lui. Et c'est aussi un moment pour eux d'explorer un peu la différence. Ils peuvent pas nécessairement mettre le doigt dessus la différence, mais ils sentent la différence et l'influence d'une forme d'art sur l'autre.
Je vais juste ajouter, étant francophone,
Oui,
mon style de danse se nomme le katak, un style de danse classique indienne du nord de l'Inde.
merci. Je l'avais perdu dans mes feuilles en français. Donc, un
Oh,
style du nord de l'Inde, Katak. Merci.
c'est à toi.
I have seen a lot of dance over the years, but I'm trying to remember if I've ever seen a piece that didn't have any music at all, or any kind of soundscape. Um, can you tell us about that decision for this piece?
sure. Um, we didn't want to choose something auditorially or bring something into the space that would really um, lean to one of our dance forms or another. We tried a few things, and every time we kept coming back to this feeling of it's just bringing a presence into the space that we didn't feel like we needed. Um, we're also really trying to listen to each other. Um, and I think that happens really nicely when there's nothing else competing for our senses.
Yeah. And sometimes we also fail at it. And sometimes it doesn't work. And I think that's part of the kind of the work of meeting the kind of parameters of the piece. And just to add a bit on that, um I think it was also really important to us that we really, in this first kind of exploration, that we really worked with um just like the the specificity that's needed to work with bodies in this kind of detailed and minimal way. And it just felt like the music would have added also kind of like an emotional kind of connotation, or it would lead in a kind of direction that maybe wouldn't service it right now, as we're still trying to figure out what we're saying beyond the kind of meaning of this kind of shared language.
Right, because we're not really, at least at this point, interested in any sort of a narrative. We're really working with the body. Yeah.
Alors, on parlait ici du choix de ne pas avoir de musique ou de son avec la pièce. Ils expliquaient qu'ils ne voulaient pas apporter quelque chose qui faisait penser à une forme de danse ou de l'autre. C'est aussi une chance pour eux de voir qu'ils ne voulaient pas nécessairement apporter un élément de plus en compétition avec ce qu'ils faisaient. C'était important pour eux de travailler sur la spécificité de ce qu'ils font avec leur corps et de se concentrer sur cet élément-là. Euh, donc, on voit ici la décision de ne pas avoir le son, c'est de ne pas avoir la compétition avec ça, de se concentrer sur le corps en particulier.
This last one is for Tanveer. So the dance festival is not only these showcases that we're seeing here, but it's also includes 4 workshops um, that are happening at Free Flow Dance Center, also free like tonight's program. Tanveer, you are leading a workshop tomorrow morning from
10:30, I believe.
10:30 till noon. Okay. Um, can you tell us about that? What can we expect?
Yeah, so I'm going to be teaching Kathak, which is a North Indian classical dance style, and I'm going to be working through some foundational movements, as well as just some general thinking around like alignment and working with the body and working with rhythm. And yeah, you'll get to, I think, see Kathak more for its for all of its kind of elements, as opposed to today's thing where hopefully you were able to, like, what's the word I'm looking for, Morgan? Blur it, meld it into something else. Yeah. So you'll get to see the form in its original foundations.
So please take advantage of that tomorrow. Again, totally free, Free Flow Dance Center at 10:30. There'll be another workshop following that as well in the afternoon, also free. Largely because we have some really great sponsors, so I wanted to thank them before we go tonight. I would like to acknowledge the Government of Canada's support for our International Dance Week Festival. We would also like to express our gratitude to our other sponsors, including Sask Culture, Sask Lotteries, and Sask Arts. Plus, send a big thank you to Free Flow Dance Theater Company, Free Flow Dance Center, 5x5 Livestream up in the corner there, and the staff and volunteers at the Reme Arts Center. What a great venue to have this.
Alors, on veut reconnaître nos bailleurs de fonds pour pouvoir avoir ce genre d'événement ici. Ce projet est financé en partie par le gouvernement du Canada. Merci également à tous nos autres bailleurs de fonds qui ont fait en sorte que ce festival de la Semaine internationale de danse peut se dérouler. Un grand merci à tous les employés, tous les bénévoles aussi de pouvoir participer. Un rappel que demain, il va y avoir des ateliers gratuits, dont notre danseur de ce soir, Tanveer, qui va faire un atelier de Kathak pour faire découvrir un peu plus les mouvements de base de cette danse traditionnelle du nord de l'Inde.
Thank you for adding that. I forgot to give you space.
It's all good.
First time working with a French translator, and it's been awesome. Love you, Shannon. I also wanted to thank Ken Greenhorn Photography doing photography tonight. Forgot that. And thank you too again. This has been incredible. And thank you for coming all this way to join us here in Saskatoon.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having
Yeah.
us.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jackie. Thank you, FIFLO.
Merci à tous.